This episode is brought to you by Sheath. You can go to sheathunderwear.com and discover the most comfortable underwear ever created. Now, what makes Sheath underwear different? Well, for men, on the inside of the underwear, there is a dual pouch. That means separate compartments for your manhood. Imagine a silky, smooth pouch on the inside that your boys slide right into that keeps you separate from your legs, so there's no more sticking, no more chafing, no more need for readjustment. We all know that little move you have to make to kind of peel the bad boys off of the leg. Well, with Sheath, that is a thing of the past. There are several fabrics to choose from modal to bamboo. My personal favorite is the bamboo. It's a newly launched product that everyone seems to really love. I highly recommend trying the bamboo Sheath underwear if you have not ever given yourself the gift of true comfort. Wearing these underwear truly sets a new precedent for what underwear are, and for most people, I think they end up switching entirely over to Sheath, because when you put on your old underwear after trying these, they just don't cut it anymore. You can try Sheath risk-free. There is a 100% money-back guarantee on your first pair. So go to sheathunderwear.com and use promo code TIMEWHEEL to save 20%. I've been involved with Sheath since its conception. It was founded by my brother, Robert Patton, who is a U.S. military vet, who during the course of his 2 tours to Iraq developed this product out of need. Need is the mother of invention, as he likes to say, and he did a great job bringing this awesome product to the world. Again, that's sheathunderwear.com, promo code TIMEWHEEL. This episode is also brought to you by Ohana Kava Bar. Go to ohanakavabar.com and check out their selection. Ohana means family, and it is spelled O-H-A-N-A, and Kava is spelled K-A-V-A. You can order directly from their website, and they will mail you high-quality kava. If you don't already know, kava is a plant medicine, an herbal supplement, a replacement for alcohol. It is an incredible experience. I have used kava for years now. I love it. It makes you chill, happy, vibey. It is a communal and ceremonial beverage to unwind with at the end of your day. If you haven't given kava a try, I highly recommend it. Again, go to ohanakavabar.com and use promo code TIMEWHEEL to save 10%. Their store offers classic kava, instant kava, kava tinctures, kava capsules, and more, all of which I have tried and all work incredibly well. ohanakavabar.com, promo code TIMEWHEEL.
Accessing archive. Authorizing. Access granted. Accessing file.
All right, we are rolling, and I am here with Nanu Berks. How are you today?
Hey man, I'm doing so good. It's so nice to be here.
Yeah, we were introduced in Austin several years ago, probably 2-3 years ago at this point, at a kind of festival that you were, I think, co-producing, or you were part of the promo team or something like that. It
Yeah,
was around crypto.
was it the Exist Art Festival? I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of the first decentralized art shows ever. And yeah, I was co-producing it, and I brought in a bunch of artists that were non-crypto centric as well. So
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of like a nice integration, and it was like a side event to South by Southwest. Yeah.
Yes, that's what it was. And I just so happened to be in town with Jennifer Sodini at that time, so she joined me in meeting you for the first time, and we hung out at your fest and then later at a kava bar, which was kind of nice, and got to learn a bit about each other. So what got you into the crypto space? Because it's something I can tell you're very passionate about.
Yeah, thank you for that question. So I was making crypto art before I knew that I was making crypto art. I was making political art, spray painting banks in Argentina when I was like freaking 14, teeny bopper, and I was
Mm-hmm.
skating around and just like, and I thought I was just angry and rebellious. But as I got older and I learned about Bitcoin and everything, and decentralization, I realized that, what I was doing was standing up for my freedom and making a statement about decentralization. And so, the banks closed down when in 2002, when I was 13, and they stole my family's savings. So we ended up on the streets, like literally overnight.
Mm,
It was insane. And I was one of
damn.
the lucky ones. So I go to the US and I was able to build a career.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, that's why I'm into crypto art, because I lived through that shit. And I know how powerful it can be to be your own bank and to
Mm,
create your own freedom and to make a living, an abundant living, living off your art with these new systems. So all
absolutely.
about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow, that's intense. So, around that time when all of this was going on, what other things were you exploring? Because to become an artist, I feel like a couple of things have to line up in someone's life to become, very interested in pursuing art as a path. So, what were those things for you?
Yeah, it's so true. So much alignment has to happen. And I think, especially to become a successful artist in any industry, there's the business things you do where you got to make a name for yourself in a niche community and then you can branch out. But before that, there's so much alignment that needs to happen in your soul. You need to know who you are, what you stand for, what you want to do. And fortunately and unfortunately, that stuff comes out of pain, man. It comes out of like intense suffering and
Mm-hmm.
out of like losing all hope. And then you find your light and you say, okay, this is the thing that gives me hope. This is the only thing I care about, and this is what I'm going to pour every ounce of me into. And so I had a couple moments like that in my life, but the most epic one was 6 years ago. I was in a crazy car accident. I was bicycling actually in Argentina, and a
Mm.
car took me out. And I like remember everything,
Oh
slow
man.
motion, freaking dying, coming back to life. And in that moment,
Wow.
it was one of those moments where I was laying on the pavement and I was just feeling so grateful for having lived my life exactly how I wanted every second, like backpacking and painting murals and always doing what I want. And I felt so grateful. And so the message was very clear,
Right.
keep doing this and don't ever stray from this path. So yeah, it's some clarity that came out of
Right.
that.
Exactly. Yeah, similar thing here with what I decided to start pursuing instead of the safe route. The whole just like steady income, 9 to 5, like job security format that a lot of people will go after because it's the safe route. It's a safe way. There's not a lot of gambling involved in it. But for me, it was. As I would say, a near-death experience through psychedelics. In that we took a lot, and it really expanded our perception of what's going on around us. And when I was able to see what a rare gift that this life was, and what a miracle it was that I was here and that everyone was here, I was like, why would I use this? Why would I do anything other than the things that I absolutely love during this time I have?
Absolutely. And that's so powerful. And the answer is fear, right? Why would I
Hmm.
do anything else? And I keep coming up to that because yeah, having a steady income does make a lot of things easier. And I don't know that I would suggest to people to do it the way I did it, that I just kind of quit everything and went full on, because it can be very
Hmm.
difficult. But at the same time, exactly what you're saying, time is so precious, and it is really rare to be alive. And if you have a fire inside of you with creativity, you gotta explore that, because when everything falls apart around you, friendships or stress
Hmm.
or jobs or locations or dreams or whatever, if you have that fire and you can tap back into that, you'll always have this drive to keep going, like that doesn't come from outside. That and even if your
Hmm.
dreams fall apart too, if you still have that fire of curiosity and intuition and creativity, you have something to be around for. Like we don't have to survive, we do have to make money and pay for groceries and stuff, but we're not being chased by a lion, so the only thing that I feel keeps me going is
Hmm.
just trying to figure out how far my creativity can go, and like how much I can learn to bring these concepts into reality.
Absolutely. And creativity is also problem solving. So when you run into situations in your life where, you might be at a place where you really have to decide which route to take, or how to how to create a creative solution to the problem you're facing, I feel like with heart, with passion, and with trust and faith in the process, you can always find a way around any block that is in your way. You know what I mean?
It's so true. It's this quote. I'm going to butcher it. I don't remember it well, but it's some quote that says, "You're never trapped in a situation. You're trapped in a state of mind." And it's true, right? We're trapped in a perspective, and that's
Hmm.
why psychedelics and I use microdoses of mushrooms all the time to just kind of
Hmm.
step outside of myself and see a new point. And it's so crazy, right? How something can feel so real and like there's no way out at all. Like you looked at every single thing, and then you take a breath and you take a moment, some psychedelics or whatever is your therapy, and all of a sudden it's like a new door pops out of nowhere
Hmm.
from below the forest. It's so crazy how convincing
Yeah,
the mind can be.
100%. Yeah, microdosing is becoming a very real, tangibly effective modality that a ton of people are using from every industry. Some people are more open about it than others, but I really do feel like it is helping move creativity forward, and just like creating a better world little by little, by allowing people to see in a novel way, and create from new spaces of thought. For you, when was it that psychedelics entered your life, and how did it happen?
I think so I moved to the US when I was like 13, 14, and I didn't speak
Hmm.
the language. So I was really anxious all the time. And somebody handed me a joint, and that was a
Hmm.
wrap. I smoked for like 20 years, just like several blunts a day
Hmm.
to feel normal.
Yeah.
And it really helped actually. And then I went straight into ayahuasca. I think that was my first psychedelic. I was backpacking
Oh,
and
wow.
it found me, and I did 3, 4 sessions, and it actually totally cleared my depression, my anxiety for 2 years. I went stone cold sober, and it was amazing. But I was,
Hmm.
popped open, like it kind of pops your consciousness, and I was really floaty, and so it was amazing. But it wasn't real either. It wasn't fully grounded. So then, I
Hmm.
went into microdoses of
Hmm.
mushrooms, little mushroom trips, stuff like that. And I'm 31 now, and I feel
Hmm.
like I've had a lot of experience with psychedelics, but also I'm a big advocate of microdoses. I don't think that people need huge monster doses. I mean, those do something else, and it's really awesome to
Yeah.
pull through a 12-hour journey, and it's an ego slap, and it's so useful.
Sure.
But I also, yeah, just want to shout out, microdoses, because a microdose of acid or mushrooms, even of weed, it can be so powerful for meditation, for everything. How about you? When was the first
Yeah.
time you?
1000%. For me, and it happened with cannabis as well. That started my intrigue, and it was really funny because I was actually someone who felt like anyone who used cannabis or any drug was like less than. I was like, y'all are ruining your lives. You're ruining your brain. This is not going to help you at all. Like, and then when I smoked for the first time, this is very, very nice. You know what I mean? It really helped me appreciate music because I was already a musician. I grew up in a house with a piano, so I would just play the piano from being a kid. And I got a keyboard around age, I don't know, 12 or so, and me and my friends started making a little band. So I was already a musician, and I loved music just already. It was already embedded in me. But after I smoked cannabis with some of my bandmates, I saw music as a dimension, as more of a immersive experience, almost like a movie. I could see music videos unfolding in my mind's eye just after taking a hit from a bong, and it's pretty spiritually enlightening to understand that the thing that I love so much, music, had so many dimensions to it. It wasn't just the thing I thought it was on the surface level. It had many layers beneath that, and through that experience, I definitely got intrigued into what are psychedelics, what is mind expansion, what is spirituality, because I was having an experience not of the surface level anymore, and it was actually very intellectually stimulating. I was able to look at the world in a new way, in a way that was different than my previous 17 years, where you kind of get this feeling that you think you know what's going on, and you have a really solid understanding of what life is. And then after these experiences, you realize, whoa, there's so much I don't know. And in fact, almost everything I think I know might just be my opinion, might just be my limited window of what I'm perceiving. And for me, that was very helpful because I feel like when people get into depressive states, it's because they feel as if they know what is happening, and unlocking to the mystery and the wonder and the maybe we don't know all the information that makes us feel this way can open our mind to get out of a negative headspace, and maybe just start a conversation, start those hard conversations with people that, if you're going through a drama with a friend or a family member, instead of just feeling like what's going on, go to them and ask them what's going on instead. So that there was a bunch of really revelatory insights that came from cannabis. And then the next one was magic mushrooms. And then I tried LSD, and then I tried DMT, and then I tried peyote. And I was really just on this path of, I want to learn as much about these plants as possible, because I was just very, very intellectually stimulated by the experiences that they provided, for sure. And I also agree with you about microdosing, because while it is, I think, beneficial to have a handful of mind-blowing experiences with a higher dose, once you get the message, it's kind of like hang up the phone. And I think people can dip their toes in once or twice a year, to these bigger doses and that type of thing, to just really remind themselves of where they are spiritually. But microdosing actually helps you transmute these things in your mind into tangible things in reality, like art, like audio, just projects that really can creatively fulfill you. And I found that through my experiences that, I started without a lot of money. But as I became more successful, and now I'm 30, money found me through just doing what I love. And I realized it doesn't even make me happy. It's it's nice to have, you feel like you can, maybe your problems are kind of less intense when you have some money. You don't feel like just because you get a flat tire, or your fridge runs out, or just something happens, your whole life doesn't have to fall apart because of that, because, I'll just go buy another one. But at the same time, it isn't what it's cracked up to be. A lot of people think, oh, well, once I get money, I will finally be happy. I'll finally be at my peak level of who I'm capable of being. But for me, I found that fulfillment is the real currency of life. And if you're not fulfilled, you can have $1 million in your bank account and it's not going to make you happy. So you have to do something daily that makes you happy.
Dude, you've touched onto so many things. I'm taking notes over here because I'm going through some of this as well right now. And I wanted to highlight some of the things you said. Macrodoses to me are like you said, twice a year. It's like the yearly hard drive clean. You got to do that. You got to
Yes.
optimize your hard drive. The microdoses, you said, it kind of helps you bring it down and implement it into the real world. I haven't heard it described like that before, and I love that because it's true. When you have a microdose, you can bridge those two worlds. You're still who you are. You are in your personality and identity, body, whatever avatar that we've chosen, and then at the same time you can see those threads. And so it's so important. And the other thing is, a lot of us get curious about psychedelics and we go all out, but also I'm a big fan of bringing it back. And I just tell people, for every psychedelic trip you do, you need twice as much time of grounding that in and understanding what the lessons were. So what you said about get the message and hang up the phone, because otherwise you get all the messages and then you're always on the phone and you never get to bring the magic through those. And what was the other thing you said? It was so good.
Right.
Anyway, absolutely. Oh, the thing about money. So to get really real about mental health, because I love being transparent with the shit. So I've been super depressed since I was 5. I remember like being 5 and being depressed. And I've tried natural remedies my whole life. I was one of those people that said, fuck medication. I'm never going to do that. And after 4 years, the last 4 years of being really in a bad place, and especially the last 2, not being able to work at all because I was so depressed, I tried a microdose of Wellbutrin, which is dopamine. So it doesn't have serotonin. It's not an SSRI, which still allows you to play with with psychedelics. But it's been really helpful. And then on that note, I went from being on unemployment. I went from being really successful, selling like $10,000 art pieces consistently for a while, to being really fucking depressed and not being able to work at all, to then being on unemployment until recently, and then making $40,000 in like 2 weeks. So it's been so crazy, to experience this. And now with the $40,000, it was this moment where for 2 days I was kind of high on it and feeling so fulfilled, especially because it's all through art sales, which is my deepest fulfillment, just art. And then like 2 days after, I was feeling the same stress, the same neurosis, the same anxiety. And I thought, wow, okay, well, what I really need to work on is trusting that money's always coming. Because if I just, regardless of the amount that I acquire and regardless of how soon that happens, if I'm always feeling that the flow is going to stop, that's what stresses me out. And I just wanted to give some hope to people listening too. If you've gone through stuff like this, I feel grateful that I've been able to get to my last dollar so many times when I'm young and when I'm making mistakes, because I keep learning with kind of like a low risk almost. Like I can lose all my shit and whatever, I'll crash at my friend's place. But, I don't want to be doing this in my 60s, and it's okay if you are too. But yeah, it's been really nice to be able to play with this. And the message every time is, dude, just trust the universe. Just trust that what you're doing, like work hard for what you want. But also just know that things are always coming and they're pouring in avenues that you're not even able to see. Like it's always a surprise, the coolest projects, So yeah, it's a real thing. It's and fulfillment, like you said, fulfillment is the real currency.
Yeah, it is, because it's one that, I don't know, it's hard to describe, but I guess it, in the sense of being a musician, because I'm a musician, when I have a new song I'm working on and it's coming along and it's not even done yet, it's just coming along, some part of me really feels fired up, amped up, inspired. I want to hear the song over and over. Like I run it back in the car, like just listening to my own music repeatedly. And I don't know, like it really adds a dimension of happiness that otherwise is just not there. And for someone who's more of an artist like you, it might be that new piece. You're laying in bed trying to go to sleep, but you're like, oh, but I have this vision for this part to add to my new piece. And it just can really, like, I'm excited about it, in a way that just money doesn't do. But and we'll jump into crypto stuff in a minute here, but one of these lessons was learned through crypto, because I was part of the I think they call it a bull run. One was it 2 or 3 years ago when crypto hit its like massive peak, and it's beyond it now, but it's beyond what it used to be, was like the highest part. And it was interesting because I only put, $2,000 in, and then it turned into 20, and then it turned into 25, and it turned into 30 grand. And so on and so forth. And at a point, I just didn't even feel any different, even seeing so much more money the next day. Like, and then I would lose some and I wouldn't even feel that different. I would just be like, and like now it's back up to the highest point that it's been and beyond. And I could see, it go up, 5K in a day or something. And I'll just be like, okay. I won't be like, yes, yes, yes. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't excite me. But if I make a dope part of a song, I will get that excited. So it's like the fulfillment factor I found is so much more important than like this money that more or less they can take from you at any time. If someone wants your stuff, whether it be the government or a robber or whoever, they're going to take it. And for you to not feel like that is your identity, that money is your identity, is so helpful, because you can always lose it, you can always get it back. I know we all need a certain level of income to live well, and I think once you reach that, that's a great accomplishment. But after you've reached the point of living well, the more and more and more you get almost just causes more and more issues or problems. And you hear about people that say more money, more problems. It's kind of true. It's kind of true. I don't know what's up with it, but it's like when people start to know, you're doing well, and they start looking at you kind of different. Like, well, what can you do for me? Like, well, you have all this, but you didn't buy my lunch, or like whatever. It's like it gets a little finicky, and like you want to give back and you can, but then when people start to expect that from you every time, and then you don't one time, it's like this weird vibration starts occurring, and you're like, I kind of wish I don't have all this money.
100%. It's with money comes power, responsibilities, all that. But for me, is with money comes pressure, because people start
Mm-hmm.
to look at you, or with success, whatever your definition of success is, whether you put a good song out and it hit a bunch of numbers, or a good art piece or whatever. And it's been interesting, seeing people reach out and kind of want to, I don't know, take advantage or be fake, people that never cared about you and always treated
Mm-hmm.
you like crap, and all of a sudden they're like, hey, what's up, how you doing, and it's interesting. I try to be as compassionate and clear as possible with my boundaries and stuff. And I'm sure I've done it too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just a thing, right? When there's power and light somewhere, we gravitate towards it like a moth. And if we're not aware of our open
Mm-hmm.
channels, or lacks or stuff like that, we can energy vampire from someone without even knowing. So I like to think that I work enough on that I'm more aware now. But I feel for like all of us
Yeah,
who
same.
just do that sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It is really hard to be in survival mode and to not have your bills straightened out. And the majority of my life has been there, even though I've had a lot of really amazing peaks where it's been really good. So yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
feel for all of us when we're in those moments, because it can be really crippling and really hard, and it can be really hard to tap into your creativity and put hope
Mm-hmm.
into that when you don't know where your next meal is coming from, or if you have a house. And so I think, going back to your first question, what are the things I need
Mm-hmm.
to align? Don't, we wait sometimes for like, oh, it's not the perfect time, we gotta wait. And the truth is that we gotta just push and persevere through those moments, through the hardest fucking moments. Once you persevere through the hardest
Mm-hmm.
moments and you tap into your creativity at your lowest point, you can do anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 1000%. I do think that. So I was introduced to this book, and it's a polarizing idea, because some people really don't like it and some people really love it. But it's The Secret, and that's the law of attraction. And it's that what you think about, you bring about. So if you think about your problems, you think about what you don't have, you just attract that more and more and more to you, and that's what you're observing on a higher level. If you think about what you're capable of doing, you think about what you do have, and you're grateful for those things, more and more finds you, more and more abundance like seems to flow in your direction. And this doesn't happen after day one of changing your mind, or even a month. It takes a year and 5 years, to uh, for that stuff to start to manifest. But if you do have the faith in the process, it absolutely works, because I didn't come into this life with any particular skill or any particular inheritance or anything in particular that gave me like an advantage, I guess, other than being a white guy in America or whatever. But I didn't have a lot of hope for my first 17 years about what I could do. I really thought the highest thing I could achieve is to be a salesman at Best Buy. And I mean, that's no knock to those guys. I mean, everyone starts somewhere, and if that is your path, that's great. But for me, I thought that was the maximum level of thing I could achieve. Is like, hey, if I get a job at Best Buy selling computers because I like computers, like I will be happy. That will be my life. And it wasn't until these kind of psychedelic experiences and having mentors and doing work in the creative field that I understood that literally the sky is the limit. If you just believe in yourself and believe in your path and believe in what you're capable of doing and refining yourself and sharpening the sword of your discipline on a daily basis, you can really achieve anything you set your mind to. And, be realistic with your goals, but also set goals that kind of scare you, set goals that kind of like make you nervous about whether or not you can achieve them, but slowly but surely chip away at them. And there is a lot of time, we have a lot of time to do these things. And I don't know, I just feel like I understood from The Secret what the essence of the message was. I think some people can really get wrapped up in maybe a dogmatic approach to these things, but I really find what you like out of a message, out of a book, out of a movie, out of a concept, out of a philosophy. You don't have to follow it to the T, but pull something from it and then pull something from another one and pull something from another one and make your own philosophy that empowers you to move forward in your path and work with people you want to work with. And even if that's not paid work, it really pays in experience to work with people doing things that you want to do. Like for me, it's working with other musicians or other filmmakers or other podcasters or people doing art in general, because I do consider myself an artist, although I'm not a much of a visual like painter or drawer or anything in that sense. But I have a creative mind and I see visions of things that I want to manifest. And it might not even be me doing the bulk of the work, but I can pull the strings together and be the glue of getting people organized to do a thing. And then all of a sudden, whoa, it manifested. The idea is here now,
I think you're really good at that. And I think that that's also, it's a great skill to have, to bring everybody together, because so many artists, there's some of us that are in the intersection of art and business and project managing and stuff. But a lot of artists don't care for that, don't like that. And they just want to show up and do their thing. And that's beautiful. And to have people that create systems like you do sometimes is also amazing. And yeah, what you said about manifestation, I've had beef with this word and I've gone back and forth from fully believing in it to feeling like it's absolute bullshit. And I think what lines up for me now is that my thoughts and my emotions need to be aligned for it to become true. And that's so much easier said than done, because I can feel that I'm capable and I can feel all these things, but thoughts can intersect, or vice versa. And so something that's really helped me with that. Oh, and the other thing that I used to think is that it was kind of passive. There's all these mixed messages out there like, oh, just sit back and receive, learn how to receive. Well, there's a lot we got to do. We got to clean our channel, clean our antenna of all the unnecessary, assumptions and limiting beliefs. We got to be in receiving mode, but that's an active role to be in receiving mode. It's not just chilling and doing nothing. And then, manifesting something takes energy like anything. So we got to put a lot of energy, whether it's belief, love, passion behind something, and hold that energy for long enough for that to pierce through the veil. So it's like a pretty complicated thing that can be effortless. But, I think when early on, when we start awakening and we read all these things and we listen to Abraham Hicks and we read The Secret and we talk, Terrence McKenna and all this stuff, and Alan Watts, it can seem so like, what am I doing wrong? Because it's just manifesting. It's just simple. And it is tricky too. There's so many things that need to line up. But yeah, once you really understand the feeling of, like for me, the most powerful thing has been, I used to always say, I want to be more successful, right? Like I want to be smarter and make more art and all that stuff. And I just switched to I am successful. I am successful because because I've been doing what I love for the majority of my life, because I've taken risks, because I meet amazing people every day. And so switching to I am successful has continued to amplify that vision versus continuing to replicate the experience of I want. Because it's what you said before. If I feel like, oh, I want to be, I want this, I continue to replicate the experience of I want. But if I have and I am, I continue to replicate the experience of I have and I am. And it's hard to switch to that. I've been switching that with money recently too, to the point where if I make 10K in one day, I feel really happy because I've struggled a lot. So seeing the numbers pop up for me does give me joy, but it's like hedonic happiness. It's not sustained. So I've been trying to switch my mindset to feeling like I just got $1 million into my bank account after a really good interaction or after a really good nature walk, like how can I access these spaces of abundance and fulfillment from doing things that are good for me instead of just relying on money to make me feel secure.
Yep, I agree. And about, being successful instead of wanting success, it's a tough thing because our mind is constantly looking for problems to solve. And the problem is sometimes we're not successful enough. And it's like, but hey, look, put yourself 10 years ago and imagine where you are now. Like, this would have been insane to you to think that you would be where you are now 10 years ago. Like, you would have been like, my whole life would have been complete. I could die happy. Like, everything that I ever wanted would have came true. And then we get here and we're like, I need more, So,
So true. So true.
but to be successful is to remember that where you are now is where you would have given anything to be just 10 years ago. And as long as you're true to your path, I think that happens for most people. At least most creative entrepreneur type people, like I can't speak for people that really aren't in this particular lane of work. But, for me, if I put myself 10 years ago and see the life I have now, the people I've worked with, the things I've done, it's like, whoa, like I really did it. I really made it. I've made it to and beyond what I thought I was capable of, which is a really good thing. But also a lot of people that are successful, they say it was luck. And what I've heard luck is when opportunity meets preparation. So it's like when an opportunity arises and you're prepared for it and you seize it, that is that lucky kind of, chance that people wait their whole lifetime for. And what's crazy is when you know how this stuff kind of works and you understand these concepts, you can get lucky every day. You just have to have the awareness of what you're looking for, because the right person can enter your surroundings, your awareness, whether it even be online or you bump into them at the grocery store. And if you're prepared when that person is there to have a discussion or introduce yourself and give them, your card or whatever it is, they might put that card in a drawer or dresser or something and not look at it for 6 months. But 6 months later, someone that they know come to them and say, do you know someone that paints Bitcoin really well? And they're like, you know what? I met someone 6 months ago at the grocery store. Let me give her a call. And then all of a sudden you've got a dope client or a dope commission piece or whatever it is. And it's like, because you pursued that moment, sometimes it takes a while to manifest, but surely it does. And especially if you're in alignment with your higher self, I think. And that's kind of woo-woo talk, but I don't know. It really seems to work. And when you go internal and you meditate or you pray or you put energy towards, an honest and heartfelt mission, I don't know. All I can say is my own experience, but things start happening.
Yeah, and the timeline is such an important thing, because it's true. It's sometimes, it was really difficult to get the business cards done, or to meditate every day, or to do, to do basic stuff, go on a walk, to be not socially anxious enough to go into a supermarket and have that conversation. And these things take months and months sometimes to regulate everything for that perfect moment. Yeah, and it's really beautiful to see it happen. And also, we never know. Like that's the part that keeps the magic alive, when things take a little bit longer, and then we get to see them come together, and you see the full picture like a year later, several years later. It's so humbling every time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when I was on unemployment and terrified of my life and what I was like gonna do, I was stressing over all these things, and the way that the money came in was through NFTs, which was not what I was expecting at all. It was not even something that I was entertaining as the most profitable idea, and the energy showed up for it. So it was fun. It's fun.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Well, congrats on all of that. And I also want to say, how did NFT world find you? Who was it? Something you just stumbled across on a blog, or did someone send something your way and then you decided, I want to do this? How did this story begin?
Yeah, it's like a whole complicated matrix. But basically, in 2016, I minted my first NFT through a friend who, NFTs have been around for a long time, but they
Okay.
just hit the craze now. So it's 2016, 2017, I minted a couple pieces via other people because the technology was still over my head. I was still learning. And then 2017,
Right.
18, I was making a ton of crypto art, and I've minted my own pieces just this year. But I think that, and that's the other thing, it seems like overnight success, but I've been in this space for 6 years, and I helped the platforms, the mainstream platforms, I helped build those. I was there sitting in consultations, working for free for hours. And 6 years later, that's paying off. So a lot of times, and I know that a lot of successful people say this, the overnight success is actually 10 years in the making. And it's so true, whether you're working on yourself or
Yeah.
your craft or both. But yeah, so I guess a lot of my collectors and people were kind of waiting and asking, when are you doing NFTs? And I was still kind of overwhelmed by the tech, even though I've been learning it and I love it. And finally, I just jumped in, about a month ago, full on. I joined Clubhouse, which is the best marketing tool and connecting tool on the face of the planet right now, if you're in tech and art. And it just kind of snowballed from there, talking, connecting with people, and minting, publishing the pieces that I've been working on for years. And it's been amazing. So yeah, it's NFTs are a magical thing. NFTs are the equivalent of blockchain technology for Bitcoin. It's like blockchain technology for NFTs, and NFTs are what is allowing me to monetize all of my content, my music, my art, anything that I put on Instagram for free. I'm now selling and monetizing thanks to NFTs.
Interesting. So let's just give people that have no idea what an NFT is, like a small crash course. I mean, I know it stands for non-fungible token, but what does that mean?
That's right. That's right. So something that's non-fungible is something that cannot be exchanged one by one, right? So if I have $1 and I lose it, I get another dollar, and that's very fungible. It's a dollar. It works the same way. It looks the same way, even if it's not the exact same one. If I draw on that dollar and I make it an original piece of art and I lose it, I can't really exchange it for another dollar because it doesn't have the art value. And so that's a non-fungible dollar. So basically what NFTs are, in the simplest way, is some like a version of a digital contract that authenticates that the piece of art that you put on the blockchain is yours. It seals it with a timeline, with an owner. And the coolest thing about it for me, the coolest functionality of the NFTs, is that every time it changes hands and it sells, the artist can get a percentage back. So when you mint a piece, when you put it on the platform, I can choose, 50% royalties, 30%, whatever. And as long as that keeps changing hands on the blockchain, I'm always going to get paid back, which is a thing that's not happening in the real art world. Collectors buy pieces, they sell them for millions of dollars, and the artist is already dead, or they never found out, or they can't get into the deal. So this is really powerful for the decentralization of creativity and the decentralization of creative platforms controlling people's content. It's not, let me clarify that it's not a copyright issue solving a solution, because people can still steal your content.
Okay.
What's going on the blockchain is a code that attaches to your work. It's not necessarily the files. It's still really early on, so the files will show up, but there's like a whole. It's more complicated than that. There's more smart contracts. There's a lot of technology involved, but at the simplest version, that's what it's like. That's what it's for, to kind of certify and authenticate. I don't even know if that's a word, to authentify your
authenticate.
Authenticate. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah. Okay. There it goes. Okay, very interesting. So that's really cool. So the way I learned about it, it's a little bit of a different way, and I don't exactly know if the way I understand it is the right way, but I was invited into a 3D space. I believe it's called Somnium, and in it there was an art gallery in this kind of 3D world. It almost looked like a video game, like The Sims or something.
Yeah.
And I could walk around in this art gallery, and like there was a bunch of art there. But apparently, the person that built this art gallery actually owns the NFT to the pieces that is in his art space. So for me, it made me think of NFTs as a way to kind of have your own, actually purchased land, your actually purchased house in the digital virtual world, and you actually own the art pieces uh, that are on the walls in these digital plots of land called a parcel. And for me, it was like, okay, it's a real life video game, because in the video game, there's really no actual value. Like if you played The Sims, you can't then sell the painting on the wall in The Sims for any money. It's just a video game. But in this case, you can. And in this case, if someone, you know, enters your house and sees a painting on a wall and says, I would like to own that piece and put it in my house and on my parcel, which is their digital plot of land, you could actually sell it to them. They take it, hang it, and then not only that, but the really cool thing that you said is that artist even gets a little kickback from that, almost like a royalty. Um, and to me, it really just spoke to where we might be going as social media evolves, as technology evolves, as computers and phones become more and more and more powerful. Will literally, like, instead of just a chat room or like 2D text box, how we're texting back and forth, like, organizing this podcast, you enter a space and you pop in and you're there, and you've designed the space, you own the art in the space, you own the land, you design the house. It's a chat room. We're all here. It's dope, but it's not only dope because we're here, it's dope because you own it, you know?
It's amazing, dude. Honestly, I used to be very resistant to VR, AR. I was one of those people who say, I don't want to be trapped into this little machine. But
Mm-hmm.
being in the conversations about the worlds we're building for tomorrow and understanding that the way that everybody has Instagram today, everybody's going to have an app that connects into Decentraland or Super World or the metaverse or any of these, virtual worlds. And it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting if you look at the really big picture, the way that we're going to be sold things to in the future, instead of a really tiny ad on Instagram that pops in and interrupts your feed, it'll be, yeah, us walking around in our virtual world with our virtual clothing and looking at our virtual artworks. And then, you're going to be able to just grab that
Right.
art piece. And what's even cooler for me, at least, is the overlay between that 3D world or that metaverse world and the 3D world. Because now, for example, people are buying parcels or pieces of land that are, for example, in Wynwood, Miami, right? So with all of this COVID shit, and also in general, just the way the planet works, and all of us being so nomadic and stuff and connected, the Paris fashion show is online, the Art Basel was online, Burning Man was online, and so we're gonna continue to see these
Mm-hmm.
integrate. So even if Art Basel is in physical form, they will have a metaverse version of it as well. And we see these things happening already, right? Like the
Yeah.
Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam, that is projection mapping, and you can walk through his paintings. That stuff is super cool. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I have a clothing line. It's like a crypto centric, but also a graffiti line, just streetwear. And I'm gonna put that in VR so
Mm-hmm.
that I can, in AR, so I can sell that. The way that Fortnite and all these video games are making billions of dollars selling like a little tool that the avatars use.
Yep.
Now we can
100%.
actually sell clothing. And the cool overlay between the 3D and 4D or whatever is that, for example, I just launched a new t-shirt collection with a brand, and 3 of those t-shirts will be NFT'd and possibly turn into wearable VR clothing. So it's just so
Right.
awesome. And also, the fashion industry is using this to reduce waste. So there's going to be a lot of sustainability that comes out of this,
Yeah.
where we can have the mansions and the crazy stuff that we want in the VR world, but maybe live more sustainably in the quote unquote real world. So it can be scary, but there's a lot of opportunities for making this more sustainable and beautiful and kind of like a win-win-win, for the planet and for us.
Right. 100%. Yeah, that brings to mind the idea of what an NFT is it is making it the actual genuine article of clothing, the actual genuine artwork, the actual, genuine skin of an avatar or these types of things. So, for example, we have to really put ourselves in the mind of kids and 12 and 18-year-olds. Because these kids are growing up in a whole new world. They've been having phones since they were like 5 and shit. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have a phone. I was like 15. So,
Really?
it's funny how we were like kind of the last generation of people who lived in the outside world so much more. But so if they want, they're going to interact a lot in their digital world, in the digital avatar. They might, want a piece of genuine NFT clothing from someone that they love their brand, and to be able to say, yes, it's real. It's actually the real version, instead of, because anyone can get like a fake Prada bag, and everyone's like, yeah, but is it real? And you're like, no, but it looks real. But to the people that actually care about, is it real? It is important that you have the actual genuine article of clothing from the designer. You know what I mean? And NFT is a way to do that.
Yeah, and the reason that's really important, I think, to discuss, because people are asking, why should I care, right? If I have a Prada bag that looks like a Prada bag and it brings me joy, I don't give a fuck. But and that makes sense to me in a world where everything is centralized and we're supporting huge companies that are abusing children to make their products. But when we move into a decentralized world and we want to empower people that we care about and we care about their missions and we want to know them personally, it just reverberates so far. Me being able to make my own money in my own terms and being able to reinvest that into other artists that I care about. Yeah, I want to track that. I want to be proud of knowing that I own a piece of their collection. And I think in taking back our power and being our own banks and caring about whether the piece is real or not, we are helping empower and redefine what value is, right? Like, why should I care that this is a real piece of art? You should care because the artist put 10 years of their work into that. And if you can prove that that's real, you can actually give it value, and we can continue to sell that in a way that provides us a stable living for the artist, versus I'm just going to download or steal this image from the internet and print it and put it as a poster on my wall. And it is a collective responsibility and a collective dream to build a more sustainable economy for all of us. So that's why I feel like people should care about what, paying artists for their work and tracking that.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful thing that the artists do get to put it out and receive something in return, because so much of the art world is, people just ripping your stuff and using it for their own means, and you're not getting anything out of it. I mean, I guess you get like the promo out of it if you look at it that way, but I mean, that doesn't, as someone who's worked with a bunch of artists, it is very valuable to be able to pay them for something that they put so much love and energy into. So that is really cool. But then also just knowing where these phones are going to go, where these computers are going to go, and what they're capable of doing. It's going to be cool to have your own digital room with authentic pieces in it. And for people that, like when you call, it won't be FaceTime anymore. Maybe it's some digital avatar of you in your dope room that you own the NFT to all the articles of clothing in that room and all the posters on the wall, and maybe even the objects around. You could have sculptures and a studio with actual NFT Yamaha speakers in it, or something like that. It's just like, it's cool to be able to have the authentic version of it. And it's kind of like a bragging right. You're kind of like, this is actually a Banksy piece. That it's actually his. Like, I own one of 50 of these, or I own the one. And so many people have, the whole kind of wealth paradigm has changed through crypto blowing up, where people that previously didn't have any money have a ton of money, and people that had a ton of money now, they're like, I'm holding on to this money that's old money now, so like they're trying to jump on board with where technology is taking us and going. And so since some of these people are younger and they're more hip to what's catching on and they can tell where the world's going, they're the early adopters right now, buying these things at the cheaper prices. And even though it's cheap now for the artist, it's actually really good value because, maybe someone bought your piece for 1 Ethereum, which is, what is it? How much money is
I
one
think it's
Ethereum
like
right now?
close to two. I don't know, like 1,700 or something. Let me see.
Yeah, like $1,700. That very NFT in 5 to 10 years could be 30 Ethereum, and
Yeah,
that's a lot of money.
and
You know
also,
what I mean?
and
So
also,
it's an investment too.
yeah, and also it's 1,600 right now. And also, what this does for artists, is that a lot of artists, especially visual artists, but actually all artists, auditory artists, music. We have such an archive of stuff that we're working on. We have like millions of samples and half-finished projects, and NFTs are a way to monetize that. I have my fine art in my studio. It might take me a couple of years to sell one of these huge pieces, but I have been able to bring back files and pictures and tests and weird stuff I was experimenting with and sell all of that. And what's really funny to me right now is that a lot of my original art pieces that I sold a couple of years ago when my brand was a little smaller and also when I was minting NFTs, now the NFT versions of those are so much more expensive than the original piece. And I can see how that's going to create really cool dynamics too, because one day the collector of the original piece is going to come out and try to sell that to the owner of the NFT, and the digital file is registered as original, but the actual piece is not. And so it's just like so crazy and so interesting to me. There's ways to link the two with chips, and we're looking into that. But yeah, I think something that's really powerful is that artists, that are in a tight spot don't have the time to do 10 million commissions. So if there's a way for you to monetize stuff that you've already done, that's amazing. And the only basic, there's some basic ideas of that in the real world, making prints or, apparel, but this is so much more powerful. And like, I just wanted to say about NFTs, the simplest way to think about it is, there was the .com, and then there was the internet of the boom of social interaction, social media. And then there was the .com of money, kind of when Bitcoin, one of the third waves of Bitcoin being powerful. And now there's the functionality, gamification, and utility version of the internet, which is, buying things in games. And the NFTs are the technology for that. The NFTs are the technology to gamify and make useful anything that you have in the world of the internet,
Yeah, and as that's becoming increasingly more real, and you can just tell by, we all have, and we are all even guilty of it, spending so much time on Instagram, on social media, on Facebook. It's more time than we spend being out in the world out there. So we can see that the trend is the internet is becoming more and more immersive. More and more of our time is going into it. And it's almost like we're bound to merge with technology, with AI, with whatever this is. You know what I mean? Like Elon Musk talks about it. I'm a fan of Elon, and I don't know if it's going to be. I can't really tell if it's good or bad. But like this whole like putting a chip in your head and stuff. I don't. I mean, part of me is very like I'm an old timer and I don't want that. But then another part of me is like, hey, like every generation has a new thing that people don't want to do, but it becomes the all new thing for everyone eventually. Like my mom is now on Instagram. Like that's proof of it. That is proof of it. Like, at first she was like, what's that? I don't know. But 10 years later, she's on it. So it's like, we'll all have to adapt. I mean, if we care to keep up with the times and where the resources lie. So NFT is, it's the leading edge right now. And I guess a question that I have is, do you think that this craze will get more and more hype, or do you think it'll kind of taper and then come back? Or is there any sign of it slowing down, or do you think that we're just buckle up because it's about to get real.
Yeah, it's definitely, that's the question of the moment. In my personal opinion, based on my intuition and the reading the market, I feel like we have another 4 months of this being an insane bubble. 46
Hmm.
months maybe for the whole bull run of, Bitcoin being so high. Who knows? It could be 9 months, it could be 3 years. I feel like we
Hmm.
have like 4 to 6 months, but I don't think that NFTs are going away. And I feel that after that initial burst, and maybe there's going to be a calm of the storm, which those moments are great to
Yeah,
weed out people that are in it for the wrong reasons. I do feel like
100%.
there, like, while the bubble bursts and kind of plateaus and then comes back, at the same time there's going to be a very steady increase, like a straight up line from all of the mainstream platforms already including this. And we can already see it. There's mainstream music platforms coming out
Hmm.
with their own coin for their artists and their own NFTs. Sotheby's and
Right.
Christie's and the major auction houses are all about it, all about NFTs already. Museums are fully adopting this. So it's here to stay for sure. And we're gonna see. Somebody said this the other day, and it kind of blew my mind. They said we don't even know what NFTs are gonna be called or what they're gonna look like in the future. We use Venmo,
Hmm.
and we don't know how the fuck Venmo works. We just use it and we know it works, right? So hopefully, when NFTs are
Hmm.
more user friendly and mass adopted, we're not even gonna know that we're using NFTs. It's just gonna be how we function. And so, if you can get in now, just even out of curiosity and inform yourself, it's really really
Hmm.
powerful. And I wanted to speak to that bit about us being more and more in the internet. I just again want to like hopefully transmit hope on this, that if you feel repelled by this or you feel worried about us being on our computers all the time, get involved, because there's so many people that are changing this from within. The people that I'm talking with that are creating the
Hmm.
VR and AR worlds have all the intention to bring this full circle and to integrate it with us being in person as well. So that was like a
Right.
misconception and a thing that kept me out of the technology for too long. And I always wish I got in earlier, because it's just an extension of our consciousness. It's just energy. We can use it however we want. And
Hmm.
if the people that are scared of it and don't want to interact with it don't voice their opinions, then their opinions don't get introduced into the world we're building.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that whole dynamic of change from within is very powerful, and we can, get involved and create more sustainable, healthier ways to use this technology. And a good example is I used to play and still do a little bit, but this game, World of Warcraft, right?
Nice.
Extremely addicting. Loved it. They couldn't get off of it. At a point, um, you know, it became uh, it became understood by the company that people just weren't logging off. So as change from within, they start giving you these messages every 2 hours you're on or something, like, hey, maybe you should take a break, these types of things. And like, that's good, that's promising towards what maybe social media and these phones will do as well, which is kind of say, it's, we're glad to have you, but definitely take a walk, take a break, get out there. And it takes people doing the change from within, as you're suggesting, to be able to present those ideas. So by getting involved, you can actually help create a healthier, more sustainable, technology, and or tools within those technologies, like reminders to do that, to step away and to not be so in it. But not only that, but like, I feel like Apple, for example, could create like a better screen that maybe automatically dims or doesn't have so much blue light, or is like less damaging to your eyes, or with the EMFs and these type of things. Like, technology can get better. It doesn't have to stay at a state where it is now and get worse and worse. Like, for example, like 4G and 5G. Like, people are saying 5G is so much worse for you than 4G if you're getting these rays and this type of thing. Well, if you go into the industry and change from within, maybe you make 5G or 6G healthier instead of worse for you. It's still faster and it's healthier. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's a good angle of hope to have um, for everything going on right now. So,
I love that perspective. I love that. Yeah, I think about stuff like that when, when okay, I rather be in nature than be in a house. But if you live in a city and you don't have access to nature and you work all the time, maybe if you come home and project a forest onto your roof, maybe that makes you really fucking happy, and maybe that's actually really
Mm-hmm.
healthy. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to fall into the extremist and villainize something that has power like money or technology. But
Mm-hmm.
there's a good side to it as well. I love what you said about just even entertaining the idea that maybe technological advances eventually could also be healthy for us as well. It is happening in several industries,
Right.
for sure. Super cool.
Yeah. I think it could, because people are getting smarter. They're listening to consensus. And yeah, I don't know, like with people in the industry that are leaders, that have a conscience, maybe they've used psychedelics and they understand that we're all one and they don't want to take advantage of each other just to make a buck, like instead people can start to use their power, their wealth, their brain, their intelligence to create a better world instead of one that just uses or manipulates. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I always try to find hope for that. And I feel like if you have hope and you share that you have hope, it gives other people hope. And that's only a good thing. So
That's so true. That's so
it's
true.
only a good thing. So I got one last question for you. What do you think is the link between psychedelics and the crypto space? Because I do find that a lot of people share a passion for both. And it's kind of counterintuitive, because one is like a blockchain and it's a digital network, and one is a mind expanding tool that have been around for thousands of years. But for some reason or another, the spaces seem to coalesce or converge together to create very promising partnership. What do you think? Where does that stem from, and what is your experience with
I
that?
love this question so much because I don't know, did you ever hear of the conference we threw in Tulum in Mexico called Crypto Psychedelic?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that was this shout out to all the homies that made that happen because they're amazing. That was the idea of, okay, what is this connection? Why is everybody in this space, a fan of psychedelics? And so we put on stage the most ancient technology knowledge, which is plant medicine, and the most recent technology, which at the time was blockchain.
Hmm.
And the conversations that happened on stage were awesome, and we got to see in real time how, yeah, they're very different things, but they actually, if you extend them to their fullest, they're the same thing, right? Where the internet to me is an
Hmm.
extension of telepathy, and blockchain to me is an extension of our brains. And so yeah, it was really cool to see that. And I feel that there's there's been these extremes. We swing to extremes when we're exploring something. So
Hmm.
the LSD movement was one extreme, and then the hippie kind of like after weed and mushrooms was another swing, and now we're kind of in the middle where we
Hmm.
say, hey, let's microdose more instead of just throwing our life away. Let's not push technology aside and be
Hmm.
completely dividing. Let's bring all the tools for consciousness expansion, and build from there. So if we give our computers a hardware clean, every 6 months, if we store our data correctly, then it makes sense that we want to sleep well to store our data in our brains correctly. And it also makes sense that we want to use the tools,
Yeah.
the technology, plants, the biotechnology we have to use it on our bio body, right? Like our hardware is biology. And so why would we not use those resources?
Mhm.
It just, to me, it all makes perfect sense. But also, even though it makes sense, it is really weird to see it. And it's really fun because one of the things that happened out of that conference that was amazing was we were able to raise an obscene amount of money in cryptocurrency to finish the MDMA research that had been stopped because of lack of government funding. And so through a conference of just a bunch of
Uh-huh.
techies, scientists, artists, creatives, and psychonauts hanging out and having a blast, we were able to finish, the research for
Right.
MDMA, and now that's being used to treat depression. Like that was a real use case scenario of how this invented magic money that's decentralized can go and fund the project that's really needed beyond all the red tape and beyond all the middlemen. Like that was amazing. That was amazing to see.
Absolutely. Absolutely love it. That is really cool. And that's actually as well. I think my friend Jen went to that conference, and then that's where she knew you guys from, and that's how we all got
I
connected.
think so. Yeah, that's right.
So that's really cool. Well, it's a small world. I'm glad to have met you, and hope to meet you again. If you're ever in the Austin, San Antonio area, definitely let me know, and it'd be dope. Where are you right now, by the way?
I will. Yeah, I'm in Sedona, Arizona. I've been here for about 8 months. Same. If you come through, it's beautiful. It's beautiful out here.
Cool.
And I do miss Austin, so
I hear good things.
definitely want to go back. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, thank you so much. I so appreciate your time and just your vibe,
absolutely.
your light, and everything you do to bring people together and to bring this information out. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So where can people find you? What are your handles, websites, and whatnot?
Awesome. I have a link tree and that has everything, but also nanuberks.com and also just Nanu Berks on any platform. Also, if you Google Nanu Bitcoin art or something like that, my name will come up as well. So yeah, find me. Let's connect. I'm on Clubhouse a lot. I give talks there sometimes. All about it. We'd love to connect.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you for being here, Nanu. I appreciate it, and it's been great chatting with you.